Hello and welcome to one of the most fun verses in all of First John. Can you translate this verse? It says, because there are three who are witnessing, or three are there who witness, something like that. Well, that's fun in and of itself. What are the three, right? What's interesting is that this is, of course, what you would read in a modern version, almost all modern versions. However, if you were raised on the King James, or you use the New King James, you're going to see, what? What in the world? Can you translate that? Here's my translation. Because there are three who are witnessing in heaven, the Father, the Word, and the Holy Spirit. And these three are one. Wow. This is the most explicitly Trinitarian verse in the entire Bible. And so you can understand why there would be some who's, let's say you were raised on the King James and you realize, oh, this newfangled NIV or RSV or whatever, ESV for that matter, this newfangled version, why, they don't believe in the Trinity, these heretic translators. They're taking stuff out of the Bible. I mean, you could see where that would be the natural reaction of somebody who was raised on the King James and suddenly reads First John. Why, those heretics, they don't believe in the Trinity. That's of course not the case. The case of the matter is that there are only 4 Greek manuscripts. So now let me tell you, there are over 5,000 Greek manuscripts. There are tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of Greek manuscripts that we have. Most of them medieval. Only 4 out of 5,000. Only 4, and 2 of them it's written in the margin, so it isn't even in the text, in a much later hand. So there's the oldest one appears to be from maybe 1300s or 1400s, and it's in the Vatican. So basically, wow, there are almost no Greek manuscripts, that have this longer reading. Now, if that wasn't enough, now, of course, there are Latin manuscripts and some old ones that go back to, I think, maybe even the 500s. But here's the clincher. This passage is never mentioned in the debates over the Trinity. That is to say, when they were arguing over the Trinity in the 300s or the 400s, with the nature of Christ, in all of those debates over the Trinity, this verse is never mentioned. Now, let me simply say that anyone who claims that this verse is original is not interested in the truth. I'm going to say it clear. You simply are not interested in the truth if you want to argue that this verse is original, because there is no doubt whatsoever that this verse would have been ground zero in the Trinitarian debates of the 300s if it existed. Now, I personally, I grew up with I grew up in a background that would have wanted to argue that this is original. So I'm speaking to my former self here, that it is simply the case that there are an awful lot of very smart people who really aren't interested in the truth. They're interested in using their considerable intellect in order to defend their traditions. And this is a case in point. There's nothing wrong with the content of this verse in the King James. The content of this verse is a-okay. The content of this verse is fine. It's great. It's true. It is simply the case that it is, I would have to completely take my brain out and set it on fire to argue that this verse was original. It simply can't be done from any standpoint of human rationality. Start trying to walk on your hands all around the world. I'm no longer going to walk on my feet. My feet weren't made for walking. It's God made my hands for walking. People who walk on their feet are heretics. You simply cannot know the facts and argue that this verse was original. That's just, I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. And so it's a very short verse. So here is the rest of the verse. Because 3 are the ones witnessing. Okay, this is what this verse, this is how short the material in this verse was in the original manuscript of 1 John. Grammar, well, three, trace is always plural. Ha, think about it. The word three is always plural. There's no singular for it. Um, uh, because is probably causal clause, right? Three are the ones witnessing. So let's analyze martyruntes. So S, if we start at the end and go backwards, this is a third declensional ending. A third declension ending, arkonantas, antianta, antes, it's a nominative plural. And of course, the article doesn't lie. Nominative masculine plural. My aunt is an active participle, so it is indeed an active participle, nominative masculine plural. And then this is martureo, the epsilon has crashed into the omicron of aunt. And so epsilons and omicrons, when they crash, ooh. And so this is a present active participle. It is nominative masculine plural from martureo. Because it has the article, it's adjectival. And because there's no noun there, the ones isn't there. We have to come up with ones. We have to come up with the substance ourselves. It is substantive. Which leads us to the pronunciation. Can you pronounce it? Hoti trace asen hoi marturuntes. Or let me try to say it more naturally. Hoti trace asen hoi marturuntes. And that's our passage for today. Again, I have no problem with the content here, because three there are who witness in heaven: the Father, the Word, and the Holy Spirit. And these three are one. Nothing wrong with the content whatsoever. It is true content. It just simply wasn't at all likely to have been in the original copy of 1 John. So we'll look at 1 John 5:8 tomorrow. It also has been adjusted a little bit in the Latin to account for this Trinitarian formula. So we'll talk about that mañana en la mañana. So we'll see you then.